What's up, gals and pals? It's your boy Vino Valentino, and welcome back to 60-Second Cocktails. This is the YouTube PubCrawl, and ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited and honored to have the lovely and talented Jessica Savidge of Savidge Kitchen. Jessica, say hello to the audience.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
All right, awesome. Jessica, I'm super excited to have you here, but before we get into this, we need to do the first thing. Rule number one, what are you drinking?
Well, it's a little bit early where I am. Yes, we're before noon, so I'm going with a morning cocktail because that's a thing.
Nice.
And I'm doing sort of a spin on a toddy. I've got grenadine, I've got cognac. That's for our friend, Mr. Steve the barman, and hot water and lemon. So it's a little bit like a toddy. I don't know. I just sort of like,
that sounds fantastic. That sounds fantastic. Well, so in as an homage to your early rise for my show, I'm going to make myself a revolver using Mr. Black.
Fantastic. I love it. I almost did a Mr. Black cocktail. I was going to do my black lavender latte.
So we'll do a little bit of coffee liqueur and a little bit of bourbon. Love it. And we will have ourselves a revolver. All right, cool. So Jessica, thanks again for being on the show. I'm really excited to have you. I think this is going to be great. You know, I admire your work so much. I think you're very, very talented.
Thank you.
I think you just got a good energy. One of the things I like about a channel more than anything is the energy they kind of bring. So cheers to you. Great. Cheers, my friend. Cheers. I love this cocktail. So
damn, that's good. All right, I'll make it again. Okay.
All right, Jessica. So before we get into the interview, we are going to play my favorite game, the fast pour.
I'm ready.
Right, so this is where I ask you 6 questions in 60 seconds.
Okay.
Let me get my timer out here. I almost did it.
So much pressure.
Timer. All right, ready? We're going to begin now. Your favorite cocktail?
Old fashioned.
Oh, that's a common answer here. Favorite spirit?
Bourbon.
All right. What is your favorite hangover food?
Ooh, cheeseburger and tots.
Ooh. What is the worst cocktail you've ever had?
Bad old fashioned. It's insulting.
All right. So I lost track of questions, but we're gonna go into your favorite bar.
Oh, that's a really tough one, and I know you ask people this, and it gives me anxiety. My favorite bar that I used to love to go to is no longer here. I used to love Binks, which is in my hometown here.
All right.
Which is like a lovely bar. Bars that are still open, probably Harvey's Weinberger, super divey. It's great.
All right, you got 10 seconds to answer. Your favorite YouTube channel, not named 60-Second Cocktails, does not have to be a cocktail channel. You got 5.
Oh, Twins a New Trend.
All right, nice. now, I will say I lost track of questions there, so you may have answered 6 or 7. I'm not sure. So.
Do I win? Does that put me at top?
You win regardless. You win regardless.
Okay.
All right, awesome. Well, Jessica, listen, I think the first thing I'd love to do is just kind of get into your background a little bit. Tell people where you're from and kind of like, what do you do outside of this YouTube stuff, if you feel like sharing that, and then also kind of how you got into it.
Yeah, it's very David Copperfield, the beginning of my life. I'm originally, as a kid, I'm from Jersey, right outside of Philly.
Okay. Oh, you are? Okay, I didn't know that. Nice.
Yep. Yeah,
right.
I still have a lot of family there. That's sort of like the hometown, kind of always once a Jersey girl, always a Jersey girl.
Nice.
You know?
Where exactly in Jersey? I know Jersey relatively well.
Okay, right outside of Cherry Hill.
Okay, yeah, I know Cherry Hill. Okay, all right, cool, nice. You're a Jersey gal.
Yeah. And then, but I actually lived most of my life in South Florida.
Okay.
My parents are still there. I grew up a lot between Boca and then lived in Delray Beach. As an adult, and I've been in Phoenix, Arizona since 2013.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What brought you? Did work bring you out to Arizona?
A little bit of both. At the time, I've been a photographer professionally since 2006.
Okay.
And at the time I had my own business and I was seeing someone out here. And so I sort of decided to move myself and my business out here.
Okay.
And then I got rid of that relationship.
You kept that relationship. You kept that relationship.
Yeah, I love Arizona.
Arizona is really one of the fastest growing. That's a state, but this like some of the cities are some of the fastest growing cities in the country. Phoenix is. I have a friend who just moved out to Phoenix, and she absolutely loves it, and she's from the Bronx and stuff like that. So she's
it's
like,
amazing.
that's a big transition for her and her family, but they absolutely love it. There's a lot of great opportunities out there if you're willing to take that risk. Those listen, I'm a New York guy. I think New York's the greatest city in the world, but there's opportunity everywhere in this country if you really kind of look for it and find it.
Yeah,
you have to have, I guess, an idea of what you're doing though. You don't want to end up in Arizona with no ideas of what you want to do. You end up in the desert.
Yeah, all of a sudden, like you're in the middle of the desert, like what the hell am I doing?
Exactly. So you've been doing photography for, you said 2009, 8. You said, when did you start?
Six.
I'm sorry.
I actually college. I went to film school, studied film production, and worked in television production out of college, and then so that was starting in 2000. And then, actually very long story that I won't get into, but I always loved photography, but it wasn't, it was never a career goal. It was literally just like, I took my first photography class, in college and was, film camera in the dark room. And I was just like, oh, I love this. And it was always just a hobby. And then in 2006, it turned into, people started paying me to do things. And I was like, oh, okay.
Wow, cool,
and
nice.
So now, this many years later, it's been an amazing career.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I went to school for photography also. But I never, it was kind of part of my curriculum because I did graphic art. So I did photography and stuff.
Awesome.
And I did appreciate it and enjoyed it, but it's something I definitely never thought of as a long-term goal. So when it turns into that for some people, I think it's really interesting because it's definitely a hustle.
It's very... Yeah, owning your own business in general is always a hustle,
yes,
right?
Yes,
that's, but yeah, photography in particular, I think my approach to it sort of helped with my success in it because for me, it was never just about like taking a picture. It's very much visual storytelling.
Yes.
And that sort of comes through because my work now has evolved in the past 3 to 4 years where I'm still shooting professionally, although this past year with COVID has been difficult.
I was going to ask you about that.
That's a different story. And I had already been transitioning into now my business is actually helping companies with branding and marketing and overall messaging.
Okay, cool.
Visual to everything. And so I'm really grateful that happened pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Because man, it's been for a lot of photographers, for every industry.
Yeah, anyone that's in this kind of industry. I'm in hospitality, and I've been completely destroyed. My industry's been completely destroyed. We're seeing like remnants of it still like showing up here and there, and kind of making a little bit of a return. But it's not gonna be the full-fledged events industry that it was prior to COVID. Not for a while, at least. So that does stink, but it's good to see that you've taken your skill set and be able to convert it into marketing, because marketing and stuff like that stuff's always going to be useful. People are always looking for ways to make their companies grow bigger or help their companies grow bigger and stuff. And their
absolutely
brand, image.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I'm glad you were able to do that. So tell me about your cocktail background. So like obviously you're a photographer, you've been in photography, but you're making cocktails. So how does that happen?
Well, so that happened completely by accident, like most things in my life. It was born of COVID. I've always loved to cook. That's been sort of I have this habit of taking my hobbies and turning them into like revenue streams. But cooking has always just been like a zen. Like that's my happy place. I like to cook for myself. I like to cook for people. I feel like you love through food, right?
Yep.
And so the cocktail thing sort of was born of that. COVID hit, and I have this incredible group of friends in Phoenix. We were all sort of like in a quarantine pod over the summer, and we couldn't go to bars anymore. We couldn't like go to happy hour, and like we couldn't like do that thing. So we spent a very hot summer around my friend's pool, and I would get in the kitchen and be like, all right, what bottles we got? What am I going to make today? And that just turned into crafting cocktails. And then another friend in Florida, actually, who has a YouTube channel, she had been on me for ages. She's got to start a YouTube channel. Yeah,
tell us about your friend, actually. Give her a plug, because I think she has a great channel.
Yeah. So my friend, Jennifer Jager of Plum Productions,
I'll put a link in the description, guys.
Awesome. She will appreciate that. So her YouTube channel, she has a production company where she does a little bit different than me. She does much more commercial work, but full scale production for different companies. but she has a YouTube channel that is about DIY video marketing for people, and specifically a lot of YouTube growth and ideas and tips for people. So she's been doing that channel for, I want to say 3 years now.
Okay.
It's very successful. That's its own business.
That niche does really well. That niche does well. If you're able to get an audience, it does well.
Yeah. And she's been, so I saw that and I was like, okay, like, but I just don't want a photography channel. Like I wanted nothing to do with a photography channel. Like, no, there's a million other photographers.
There are a lot, but they you know, if you again, with anything in YouTube, really, if you hit, you can do well. I mean, but I get what you're saying. Also, because you do professionally, I guess you probably wanted more of an outlet than anything else.
Exactly. That's 100% what it was. Like I live and breathe that every day, all day long. Like the YouTube channel for me was purely just a fun hobby, creative outlet. So what's funny though, so I would make cocktails for the boys all summer, and then it was like, all right, well, maybe I'll do cocktails. And now it's turned into this thing where like, I'm enjoying it so much.
And you're good,
but Jessica. I also don't, thanks.
You're good. I mean, listen, it's obvious that you're a creative mind. You know, and if you're a creative mind, you're going to flourish in things that allow you to be creative. And cocktails, and one of those, cooking, obviously, photography, all those type of things where you can be creative are going to be a great place for you to kind of display your talents and stuff. And, you know, you've obviously kind of mesh 3 different things in one with your channel, in my personal opinion, because your photography, obviously your filming, everything's really beautiful. And then your aesthetic cooking wise, I could tell that, you know, you make a lot of stuff by hand, and you make a lot of stuff from scratch. So that's your kind of cooking mind going. Right. And then obviously your cocktail mind, you put the right spirits together and make a great cocktail. So you can see it all come together in your cocktails. And I think it's really cool to watch. Awesome.
I actually never thought about it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite astute that way.
Very observant of you. Well, it's funny because I don't feel encumbered by like the way you like the proper way to make a cocktail, because I don't know. Like I genuinely, I have no idea. And it's nice because since this is a hobby for me, I don't feel like I have to perform to a certain, you know, spec, or I have to do something a certain way. I'm just going to do it how I feel.
You know how I think you do a good job is you sell it, right? So one thing I always love is that when you drink something or taste something, you have this, you're like, oh my God, it's so good. You roll your eyes.
I can't even help myself.
You know, but I love it, right? So to me, it's like, I don't give a shit if she's using the right portions or not, because she's into this right now. This girl's enjoying herself. And that's how I like to do it too. Like, listen, I come from a New York City cocktail culture, which is incredibly pretentious. And, you know, I'm
sure it comes with just a ton of pressure. Yeah.
Tons of pressure. And what I did professionally for 15 years was deal with this kind of clientele and this kind of market. And so when I knew I was going to go into YouTube, I said, you know what? I'm not bringing any of that into YouTube. I'm going to go into it as kind of just this kid from the Bronx who's having fun making cocktails. Yeah. And that's what I'm doing, you know?
I think that's why it's fun to watch your channel too, though. Like I know, and you also it's nice because like you do have the bar credentials, you know, like you do, like, you know what you're doing. And I love how you like explain like, oh, I'm just going to do it this way, or this is how you do it. And like, that's,
but if it's never like, hey, this is the rules. This is the rules. This is, it's how they do it, but you know, whatever. I don't know. I'm lagging big time on my side. Am I lagging over there?
A little bit, yeah. Your audio, like audio's coming through fine, but like every now and then the video will like catch up.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that is. I think my
now you seem fine.
All right, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, so that's cool. Like I said, so you know, I definitely admire the way your enthusiasm and stuff like that. You know, the COVID definitely brought in a ton of cocktail enthusiasts, people who are not, you know, bartenders or mixologists or even in hospitality.
For sure.
And it's cool to see that enthusiasm that they have for cocktails. Like, you know, this, you could tell like they're not doing it just to kind of make a couple of bucks or try to make a couple of bucks. They, you know, they genuinely enjoy what they're doing. And that's so cool to see. People like Rob from Rob's Home Bar and yourself, guys who I know are just into cocktails. And that's cool to see for someone like myself who does it professionally. You do sometimes lose that enthusiasm.
Hold on. You're lagging a lot. And my dog is barking at me to go out. Hold on one second.
So Jessica, so let's talk cocktails.
All right.
Obviously, this is something that you're kind of getting into now, stuff like that. But what's that cocktail that really hit you? Like when you first started drinking cocktails, or maybe even, you know what, actually with you, what's that first cocktail you made that you're like, I'm so proud of myself.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Like I love the one I told you I made recently, the one the Terramana.
The Cabana coffee.
Oh, that was so fantastic. So
fantastic. That's a good one. Yeah, that is hard to say because I don't really remember like the first cocktail I made. It's just like cooking. You just do, you know, like I will say I was probably the very first cocktail I made for intention with this channel. And the reason for that, so that was the Thin Mint, and that is a bourbon cocktail using mint syrup and chocolate bitter. It's friggin' delicious. But the reason I was so proud of that was because it's the first time I ever measured something for cocktails. I was like, I have to write these measurements down if I'm going to share it with someone. And so, and that's actually been one of my biggest challenges with this channel is like every time I make something, and I do the same thing when I cook. I toss, you know, I'm like, oh, and I taste as I go, little of this, little of that, you know, Italian kitchens, like, and so with this, it's very different. It's like, wow, if I'm going to make this, I need to make it in a way that is easily replicable and that I can communicate to other people. So when I got the ratio down for that, I was like, oh, all right, like, this is it.
Like I could publish my first cocktail.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I got to put it in the description, like what goes in this.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I guess you could say that's technically the first one, right? I mean, you know, it's definitely the first one I felt like a thing for you.
Yeah.
I didn't have it. I'm not a huge mint person, but it did look like a nice ass cocktail.
If you like mint, it's delicious.
Yeah.
I definitely the black lavender latte is one of my favorites just because
I want to touch on that actually too. So for you guys that don't know, Mr. Black Spirit, which is actually what I'm using in my cocktail, had a contest for, you know, cocktails made by the community with using their spirit. And so Steve, the bartender, who's one of the top dogs in this niche and fantastic guy, he was hosting the contest. Jessica was they had different rounds. Jessica was in the first round and won the first one. Yeah. The girl was on YouTube for 2 days and she won. So tell us about that. That must have been such a high for you.
Oh, I talk about shock. Like, it's so funny because I had just started the channel. It was brand new when they announced that contest. And I mean, even though this is a hobby, I'm competitive, right? I can't help it.
Well, you're a hustler. You gotta be competitive.
And you guys know with your cocktail challenges every month, I'm like, I'm in. Like, what's coming next? So I saw that. So backing up, Steve the bartender was the only cocktail channel I had ever seen on YouTube.
Oh.
I didn't watch cocktail channels. I found him when my friend Jenn and I were talking about starting a channel. I'm like, well, I guess I should see what's out there, you know, and like he was the first hit when I Googled it. I was like, all right, well, let me look at this one. And so that challenge was announced and I was like, this would be a great way to grow my channel. Because the winner each week, he was going to make their cocktail on his channel. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And I was like, I don't care if I win. I just want to make that top 3. That's it. Like, I just want to make that top 3. And shockingly, like, I won the popular vote by a lot, which was like, totally blew me away. Like, totally shocking. I feel like I might have Tim Kirkland to thank for that. He commented the other day, he's like, I voted for you several times.
We have a lot to thank Tim for.
I know, Tim's the best.
Yeah.
But then Steve, he did, so I won, and then I was in the top 3, and then Steve did that tasting and chose mine as the winner, and I was absolutely shocked. It was Thanksgiving when he released that video, and we were just about to sit down for dinner. And I was like, oh my God, guys, oh my God. I was like, it's announced. And so we like watched the whole video and yeah, it was super, super exciting.
The funny thing about that is, so I remember you entering it and I remember the cocktail and I was like, oh, that's really creative and really pretty. And no one's going to do anything like this. And in my mind, I said, you must have been doing this for a long time because it was such a bold decision. It was a bold decision to make something like that, you know, to infuse lavender in your cocktails and stuff, especially with coffee. Like that
and didn't feel hot cocktail.
Yeah, it didn't feel accidental. You know, it felt like this girl knows what she's doing. She probably made this at some restaurant she's worked at before.
No.
So hearing that you had no previous cocktail experience, it makes me even like more kind of mind blown by that. I was like, Jesus.
It was definitely very intentional in that, like, that's the one thing I will say about each cocktail. Like, even though like I might toss when I'm experimenting and you know, play with things, and I don't follow any rules. There's always intention, you know, there's always like you know, like what it really comes down to, like my palate and what flavors I think will go well together. And that in particular, since I knew that was an 8-week contest, I was like, I gotta come out swinging if I have any shot at this.
It's like go big or go home, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I was like, I'm doing something hot. I'm doing something with lavender. I was like, here we go. And actually, funnily enough, the drink I'm drinking right now, I'm using that same cognac.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, this stuff is really good. I don't know if you've ever tried this.
No, I've never tried that one.
The ABK6.
Not that one.
Total Wine recommended it. It's good.
Cool. So, so that was super cool. So now, what kind of boost did you see from that? I mean, because again, you had just started your channel, and I mean, that's got to be pretty great for recognition. It
was, and Steve was amazing and gave me a shout out directly. He like gave an actual shout out to my YouTube channel, which was super cool of him. And yeah, I did get a boost. I got a lot of new subscribers, and I think the most important thing to come out of that was it actually connected me, and I think put me in front of more people in the cocktail community. And I think that got me, you know, like connecting with you guys and other people that just, you know, never would have found me otherwise. And I didn't know enough to go find them. So yeah, it was super helpful. I'm really grateful.
So listen, one thing I'd be remiss to not talk about is the fact that you're a woman in this niche, right? There's not many of you guys. So, you know, winning this contest and being like one of the boys, you know, to use a phrase, do you feel like a little extra pressure to like kind of like, you know, not to be as good, because I think that's a ridiculous thing to say, but like to kind of like not to be respected or whatnot?
A little bit, but that's been like that my whole career, quite honestly. Like I've existed in, you know, so you go film production, television production, photography, documentary photography, they're all boys clubs. Generally. You know, which and I don't say that with any ill will. Like, no,
it's the realities are what they are.
It's just the reality. So it's funny getting into the cocktail world. And this is something Jen and I have talked about, and I noticed it's only in the past couple of weeks that I've discovered some channels that are women.
You're referring to Jenn and Tonic?
Yeah, Jenn and Tonic.
I like her a lot. She's great.
She's cool. There was another. Oh, so then there's Cara Devine behind the bar. She's great. But there's just not a lot of other ones.
There's really not. You know, and it's cool. It's cool. The one thing I would say, it's cool. I think I mean I could speak for myself and for the guys that I speak to off camera. Like we completely just embrace you guys like just another great mixologist and cocktail maker. It's never like, you know, it's never look, you know, it's such a great embracing community. It's never like, oh, that she's good for a girl, nothing like that. It's like Jessica's great.
Which
Jessica's
I don't get
awesome,
that vibe
you know?
at all.
No, it's not. I mean, we completely admire you. And then like, you know, you mentioned Jenn and Tonic. She's relatively new and she's got a great personality. You could tell that she's having great enthusiasm for it.
She knows what she's doing.
Knows her history. Calls herself a cocktail history nerd, which I think is really fun. Then you've got, you know, Tessa TK from TK's Bar, who kind of went away for a while, but she's come back recently. She's a, you know, very young creator, but she's got a great enthusiasm for the niche also. So it's great to see that. I'd love to see more. Maybe, I'm sure we will over time. You know, but it's, you know, it's good to have talented people, period. Kind of pushing this niche forward. Because one thing I always talk about with the other guys and stuff like that is, you know, when you look at the cooking niche, that thing is like out of control, right? They are huge and very talented people, but it's massive. And the cocktail niche hasn't quite taken off that way yet, but I'm seeing that now. You're seeing a lot more growth and a lot more new channels and stuff like that. So we may never be able to replicate what they're doing because, of course, you know, we're limited in our scope because it's alcohol. I think there's definitely a room for more growth because there's so much talent and so much diversity. Holy moly.
Absolutely. Well, the thing that I love about cocktails, and this cooking shares this too, like people come together over food, people come together over cocktails. And like, to me, when thinking about content, sharing content, producing content, like, yes, it's about making delicious cocktails, sharing recipes with people. But why do we do that? We do that to connect, you know?
Yep.
So when you look at it in that way, I feel like the possibilities are sort of endless for content, because like the thing that I miss most about going to bars and like being, you know, going out to have a drink isn't the drink. Mine, like the drinks I make at home.
You make them at home, exactly.
You know, it's that social aspect. It's like, it's chatting with the bartender and seeing how they are. It's meeting new people. It's that, you know, camaraderie and like that feeling of community, you know, and it's I feel like that's kind of popping up.
Yeah. YouTube. I mean, and I think that one of the reasons I think our community is so closely knit is because of that, because I think we all miss that too. And so we use each other almost as like as a shoulder to kind of lean on and have a conversation and feel that social component again, because we're not able to do it on our own, you know?
Totally.
So when we do like these lounges and stuff on Discord and stuff like that, even these interviews here are a great opportunity for us to kind of get to know people. I mean, the response has been great. I will say I'm really happy with the response from the community and from other people. Yeah. Like, hey man, Vino, those interviews are awesome. I didn't know this about that person, or this is so cool to know about that person. And that's what you learn over a drink though, right? You go out for a drink and you learn something new about a coworker or just someone you know that you're dating or whatever. It brings out it's the truth serum, you know, it brings out the truth stuff, you know.
I mean, think about like your greatest stories. So many of them I think for so many people.
All right, good. Let's try again.
Okay.
Good. All right, guys. So wrong camera. So guys, so Jessica and I are having some technical issues, but we're gonna get through this because we're troopers. Jinx. All right, guys, we're troopers. So getting back to like the social component of cocktail drinking, I think that again, I think that's a big reason we have gotten so close in this niche, because we, you know, even if you're not from the hospitality industry, just the fact that you love cocktails and stuff, I think it just lends itself to us kind of getting cool and hanging out together and stuff like that, and really vibing off each other and learning so much from each other. And I love that. So Jessica, so tell me about your favorite drinking moment, like your favorite drinking story. It could be a drunk story. It could be, listen, you know what? Because I've been thinking about this. You know, I tend to ask like your best drinking story, your best drunk story. And those are always great. So if you got one, great. So, you know, share it with us. But, you know, sometimes your best drinking story is like sitting on the beach in Puerto Rico and like, just like getting the world exists. Like, you know, that's to me is a great story too, especially now, because we all, God knows, we all need that kind of like escapism, you know what I'm saying? So like, you know, whatever you got, if it's a poolside drink, if it's a beach drink, if it's falling down the stairs, you know, at a club drink, whatever it is, you know, tell me a good drinking story that you got.
There's so many, right? That's a good one. Well, you know, the irony is, you know, I make these cocktails, but I genuinely don't drink alone. Like, I don't. So it's rare. And it's funny, my friends in my advanced years, they're always like, you never get drunk. And I don't, because I did a lot of it when I was younger. Probably, so the drunkest I've ever been, hands down, I was, let's see, I was 19 years old in London, and I was, my boyfriend was in the Air Force, and I was there visiting for New Year's Eve, and we went to Trafalgar Square, and we're on a bus from the base to London, and somebody brought a bottle of Bacardi 151.
Oh,
you know where this is going.
Yes, I do.
It still hurts. Like, that was in 1990, I don't know, 7 or so. It kills me.
It kills me to discontinue that. I mean, you know, they did. Bacardi did.
For the best.
I know, but so many good stories that I could tell you from that stuff.
This is like I'm the most ashamed I've ever been in my life. I passed out and fell over onto a homeless man who was sleeping in a doorway. And I don't remember this. I've only been told about it. That I scared the bejesus out of this poor man. Like, he was just rolling, collapsing.
You thought he was probably getting robbed or something.
Or he was getting lucky, like, ooh, new year, new me. So all I remember is waking up sometime later with an arm over each guy and just like being walked like down the street as they were like, oh. So that was
how much of it did you have?
Oh, all of it. Like all of it. I was 19 and dumb and like, you know, so that's the drunkest I've ever been.
When we you know, growing up in the Bronx and stuff like that, one of like the things you would do is, back in the 90s, I was in my homeboy phase and stuff, and we used to drink a lot of 40s. But the other thing, the other thing you drank also was like a pint of Bacardi Limon. That was the other one you did. So I remember I used to drink the Bacardi Limon, like a whole pint by my skinny ass self. And I remember, I used to get so destroyed off of that stuff. And I can't even smell the limon now. I can't. I get the regular
there's
Bacardi,
those spirits, right? That you're like, that abused me once. I can't go back
and
there.
You just can't touch it anymore, which is fine. I'm glad it's Bacardi Limon and not like bourbon or something, because I'd be so sad. I'd be so sad.
So sad.
Yeah, but 151, me and my buddies used to use that as a way of like, if you said something stupid, like if you made a bad joke or like you could, or whatever, like it was a punishment.
That's brilliant.
That's how we used to punish each other. I know you gotta take a shot at 151. The funny thing is that Dave drinks the stuff with a yolk for the egg yolk. He drinks an egg yolk whenever he makes something that requires an egg white. He swallows he swallows because he doesn't know what to do with the egg yolk. So he'll do the shooter and then do a 151 to as a what's it called chaser. He do it as a chaser. It's kind of like he does it for fun on the camera. It does. It kills him. He says he hates it, but he does it for fun. Anything for the audience. You know what I mean?
Anything for the audience.
Fair.
I don't think I would do that even for the audience.
Just let me ask you something.
I'll try anything twice like that. No.
So obviously, look, cocktails is not your background. You're getting into it, and you're doing a hell of a job, if I may say so myself. But cooking is something you love. Do you think and your channel implies cooking. What's the deal with that? Like, you think you'll start? I know that it's tough because you do it by yourself, just like me. But you think you'll start doing a little more cooking in the future?
Eventually, I very intentionally named it Savidge Kitchen instead of like Savidge Cocktails or something else.
So you can expand. That's smart.
So I have the option.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to, but I also am very, like, as you just mentioned, like I do this myself, and production wise, like I've got 3 cameras running, I'm running audio and doing all that. It's a lot. And it's just at one stationary spot for a cocktail, right? Cooking, you're bouncing between a countertop, a stove, and a sink, depending on what you're doing. So until I have a space where I can more easily leave things permanently set up, and I got to have another set of hands for it. But it's like I've done a couple of cooking things on my channel, like the candied cranberries, and I did like the experiment with keto sugars and stuff like that.
Also the Nutella thing, I think was, you kind of spread that into like a pan or something, right? I can't remember.
But that also countertop that, by the way, too. That Nutella, that's another one of those moments where I was like, damn, this is good. Why are people doing this?
Yeah, that looked really freaking amazing.
I'm about to make another bottle of that because I'm out of the first one, and I've got a cocktail coming up.
Cool.
Yeah.
So considering that, that cocktails ain't your background, or isn't your background. Ain't is the Bronx in me, sorry. Ain't your background, eh? So there's got to be obviously a lot of, because I like to ask people, like, what's your blind spot, right? What's your blind spot in the cocktails?
All of it.
I've got to imagine there's a significant amount for you, right? So, with all due respect, of course. But what's one that you want to rectify? Because you can have a million and not care. What's one that you want to rectify? Like, I want to know more about that in particular.
There's so many things. There's a lot, just because I'm completely uninitiated to most of this. In particular, right now, we were actually just talking about eggs. I've never mixed a cocktail using egg white. And
really?
that's something
yet?
that, no.
Wow,
and I really.
So you haven't made any sort of sours or anything? I didn't realize that. Okay.
Never. And so it's something that I've had them out, obviously, but I've never. You know what's funny too is when I had them out, I don't think it occurred to me what that silky mouthfeel was coming from. Like the mechanics of how it
has that body and texture that you don't get otherwise. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm really interested to start playing with that. So that's been a big blind spot for me. Honestly, like it's really a big grand experiment for me, which is the fun of it for me. Like I'm having so much fun because it's an experiment. But yeah, it's all an experiment. And also I just started making my own liqueurs.
Okay.
I'm working on a dark chocolate orange liqueur right now.
Orange and chocolate, that's a hell of a combination.
It's real good. I'm trying to find a balance of I need it to be flammable. I have an idea. Yeah. Right. So I'm trying to find the balance of like it can't taste like gasoline, but it still needs to be flammable. So that's also been really, really fun. Like I didn't realize how much chemistry would get. Like I need a chemical engineer right now. I have to figure out like these ratios so I can burn things. So you got to message
cocktail chemist. That guy he calls himself cocktail chemist. That's a good
idea, actually.
Ask him. Give him a shot. Give him a shout.
He'll probably know. Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, listen, we can't know everything. I'm learning stuff still, and I've been doing this forever. You know what I'm saying? You know, so and I think especially when you go into the realm of experimentation, there's no rule book, right? There's no real rule book if you're experimenting. I mean, a lot of great cocktails come out of mistakes or, just by experimenting with things that are not the norm and stuff. So it's cool that you kind of have that mind frame already. And, the fact that you don't know too much is actually probably better because it's not holding you back. Because sometimes you have like this preconceived notion that these things don't work together. Right. Or you can only do this, then you're probably you're gonna stray away from doing that. But when you don't know, you're gonna be like, okay, let me just try this, and not realizing that in the cocktail rules, you're not supposed to do that and stuff like that. But rules, forget about rules.
I feel that way about margaritas. And I know National Margarita Day is coming up. Will probably passed by the time
it'll pass by the time this is February 22nd.
Yeah. Right. I've never been a margarita fan. When I've had them out, and I had never made a margarita. I had never made a margarita for myself, and I was like, "Fuck this! I'm gonna figure out a margarita that I like," And so that's actually been a lot of fun. So I have the coconut margarita that's up on the channel now, and I have another couple. Like I made one last night with I did grenadine and a little bit of Cointreau. I did lemon juice instead of lime. That Terramana Blanco, that's so good. So good. It's
such a great mixer, isn't it? It's so good as a mix.
So good. Yeah. And then I did a tahine rim and the Anchovies Verde.
That's right.
That was so good.
Yeah, so cool.
I'm having fun. So margaritas have been a blind spot. I'm having fun sort of poking around and just kind of doing my own thing.
So when you think of cocktails for the channel, how much consideration do you take into the fact that maybe they're not like the kind of cocktail you just bang together, that may kind of alienate some people that are not really savvy in terms of making their own liqueurs and stuff like that? Because that's something that is definitely, there's some channels out there who I absolutely adore and imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, I adore and respect, but I can't make their cocktails. It's just not something I have the patience to do,
It's one of those things. I feel like I'm at a sort of right now with my channel where I am with the number of subscribers I have and my views. I'm kind of at a tipping point where I have two choices, right? I can either lean into the analytics and start making the things that people who are already watching me want to see, or I can just kind of keep doing what I'm doing. And I know there's no right or wrong answer. The competitive side of me wants to grow the channel, but I think the thing that I'm passionate about and the thing that comes through in my videos is that I am having so much fun experimenting and not worrying about if something's either a trend or how available it is. I try to always give alternatives and suggestions. Like there's nothing that I make cocktail wise or nothing I make in my kitchen that isn't possible for somebody else to make unless they can't get, for example, these poor guys in Canada that can't get Mr. Black.
Yeah. It's so sad. Poor guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I always mess with them though. I don't feel too bad. I love you guys. I love you guys.
Someday we're gonna have to bootleg some Mr. Black.
Yeah, seriously.
Right. So like those things, I don't know. Like it's some thought does go into it, but at the same time, I feel like it wouldn't. I think the people that watch Savidge Kitchen probably watch for the same reason you said, because they're having like fun with me. And I want to keep it that way. So I'm just going to kind of keep doing my own thing,
Yeah. It's definitely a fine line. It really is. I mean, I think about it from my own channel. Like, I don't tend to I don't want to make too many like of the common drinks. So it's not, I like to do lesser known drinks. That's kind of my thing. So I started my channel off by doing the margarita and the whatever, because you kind of want to get your foot in the door and hope that people pay attention. Sure. But now it's like, one thing I'd love to do is make my own cocktails, because the food and beverage director for, so many years, like that's a big part of your thing.
So many. Yeah.
Making your own cocktails and I love naming my own cocktails. It's one of my fun things. But also just, I like finding kind of like those older cocktails that like aren't as well known. Like, I've done the Algonquin and things like that, which aren't the Abbey like things like that aren't terribly popular, but they use really classic ingredients, and when you drink them, you're like, God, you can tell this is like a kind of pre-prohibition or kind of, one of those kind of aged cocktails. I love that. I love that flavor profile. Yeah. That's my thing.
For sure.
But at the same time, those aren't getting searched.
Right.
And I know that because like the minute I started converting to that, like I saw that in my stats and my analytics, I was like, oh. But at the same time, it's what I love. Like you love being creative and kind of having fun in the kitchen. Yeah. And me, I love to look back at old cocktails. I'm an old school guy. I mean, look, you see my whole Rat Pack day. You can tell the way I kind of talk and carry myself. I love old school stuff. I love the idea of old New York and old America. So I like to kind of stay in that realm cocktail wise, but it's a challenge. So you have to balance, like, do I appeal to the masses, or do I keep doing what I love and hope that there's that middle ground that kind of rolls with me either way,
I know it's a hard, especially it depends on what your personal goals are, right? Mm-hmm. Like if your goal is to turn your channel into like, hey, this is the thing, this is going to be my career. It definitely, I think, weighs on the choices you make, as far as like what you're gonna do. Yeah.
I mean, and you're so like, take both of us, for instance, right? Part of the reason I love these old school classic cocktails is because they're fast. They were simple ingredients.
See, that plays into your,
Yeah, so it plays right into my whole thing. So, it just kind of happens to work that way. I actually didn't think of it that way, but it does. I love classic cocktails, and I guess that's why I make fast cocktails. Mm-hmm. And with you're Savidge Kitchen. So the fact that you want to make kind of like these cool, fun cocktails that require a little extra effort makes sense, because your kitchen's in the name, right?
Yeah.
So like you are trying to stick to your identity of your channel, but again, like I said, you look at this SEOs and you start saying, man, is this working for me? And we're both about that same range. I think we're about 350, 340, whatever. Mm-hmm. And you say, okay, the growth is there. It's happening. Oh, yeah. It's slow. So you say to yourself, hey, you know what? Maybe I just play this out and see what happens.
It's very much a slow and steady wins the race. This is actually something I say to clients all the time. Like it's one thing to like follow the trend and do the thing and try and jump on something and maybe go viral here, or maybe do that here. But in the long run, it really is about putting out consistent quality content that you're passionate about. 100%, no matter what the genre, no matter what the niche, no matter what the platform even. Like that really, because people can sniff out authenticity. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And I feel like when you look at the extremely successful channels on YouTube, a lot of them isn't because they're doing something so different and amazing. It's that they're connecting with their audience personality wise, and also putting out good content. But I think they're connecting because they're passionate.
Look, I think we can all honestly say, look at Steve the bartender. He's not doing, and he's not doing anything extravagant. He's putting together cocktails very simply, and he's got a very kind of chill personality, and I think that's what helps him. I think that connection with the audience is going to be the first key to success for you. You can have the coolest cocktails, you can have the best algorithm success, all that shit like that, but if you're not connecting with the audience, at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter.
And if you're not sold on what you're creating, nobody else is going to be.
No, they'll eat it. They'll eat you alive. Well, they won't even bother eating you. They'll just be like, next guy, next guy. So because we're disposable. At the end of the day, we are.
Totally. This is a luxury. Nobody needs this. This is a luxury. This is fun. This is I think if you're passionate about what you're creating, in addition to actually having a good product, right? Like, yes. You have a clear image. You have good sound. Like you're doing, it's digestible in that way. Then I don't know. I'm a big fan of have fun with it, do your thing,
and that's one thing you do. Like I said, every time I'm talking to the audience now. Every time Jessica eats something, I wait for that. I don't think anybody enjoys the taste of stuff the way she quite does. I mean, I think she's gonna. I would think she's gonna pass out sometimes. I swear to God.
Sometimes they do. It's so true that
eat it, try it.
I should really do a reaction channel, right?
That's what you should do. Yeah, do a reaction channel.
It's so me though. Like I've always been that way about food. And I've always been that way too about putting together like weird combinations of flavors. When I was a kid, one of my favorite things to do, this is going to sound disgusting to so many people, but one night my stepmother had made like one of those like stir fry packet things, you know, for dinner. And there was a leftover teriyaki sauce packet. And we were having vanilla ice cream for dinner. And I was like, I want to try. I know. I was like, this is going to be delicious. So I took the teriyaki sauce and put it over the vanilla ice cream. It was delicious.
I mean, it's sweet. Teriyaki is sweet. So, I mean, it's not a stretch.
Salty. I love that.
So, that's what I'm saying. It's sweet, but salty at the same time. So you get that kind of juxtaposition there.
So I've always been adventurous about trying things. And I always like, I just get excited about food and drink. It makes me really happy.
And I'm the same way. I mean, I'm just animated so much anyway that I don't sometimes can't even tell when I'm not, you know, when I'm excited or not. But like with you, it's like you have this kind of cool, kind of chill, happy disposition. Then all of a sudden, you know, you eat something, you're like, oh my God. It's like,
you just nailed me. That was the perfect impression.
It is. Your eyes kind of go crazy and stuff like that.
Like, oh my God. That's hilarious.
But again, it's what I love about you and your channel, and you know, it's what I look for in any channel that I watch. I'm like, do I like this person? Because you know what?
Sure. Otherwise, like you don't have to watch. Like,
I don't have to watch. Right? And we've all got. Making cocktails is not rocket science. It's not rocket science. Whether you do something that's a little more elaborate or whether you do something that's really quick, it's you could do it.
Right.
So how you present that to me is what's going to attract me to you. If I feel like you're kind of mundane or just kind of, you know, I may speed through it, you know, whatever, who knows. But if you got the kind of personality that I'm attracted to, then I'm gonna be like, you know, I want to watch this person's stuff and kind of see how they react and the effort that they put into it and stuff like that. So, and definitely, I think there are some channels out there where just like this guy puts a little extra fun. Well, this gal puts a little extra fun in this stuff.
Oh, I'm amazed by like the people in our niche, which like I said, like before I started my own channel, I literally never watched a cocktail video on YouTube. Yeah. And so now being sort of embraced by this community and this community that's growing so quickly, I like we were all on the group chat the other morning. I spent 2 hours early the other morning just like getting through cocktail videos and laughing my ass off because some of these guys are genuinely comedians. Like they are funny, they're entertaining to watch. Like Never Empty Bottle. Oh my God, that guy cracks me up.
Tyler is my boy. He's a funny young guy, man. He's hysterical. And you know what? And a really, really nice guy on top of that. I interviewed him right before you. I think he's next week. Today, next week. And he's just a really good guy and funny, smart, nice guy, you know. And it's good because again, like you said, there's a bunch of guys here. Like they're funny guys, they're smart guys, and they're creative, and
everybody does something a little bit different. Like I love what Carl and Riley are doing at Alchemix. You know, like it's just like, and then there's Steve the barman with this huge personality, but so much knowledge and so much drink knowledge, you know, like it's just a lot of fun. I'm really,
I mean, and it is, I mean, you can sit here and kind of go down the gamut of these guys and you can describe them.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Because they do have such distinct personalities that you can actually describe them. And then they're also kind of like their style of cocktail making them.
And how they're different from each other. Absolutely. Yeah. It's awesome.
Now, one thing, about you, I know you have some production background and stuff like that. So how critical are you of your stuff?
In Phoenix here, we have something called the Musical Instrument Museum,
cool.
Which is a massive 200,000 square foot building with thousands of instruments from all over the world. And I used to be in charge of their photography and documentary production, which was amazing. It's one of the greatest things. Like the relationships I have from that place are like the greatest in the world. I love that. But having said that, so having moved, I left MIM in 2017. And I mean, I'm still doing, you know, same thing, production. But so now when I do it for cocktails, it kills me because it is just me. And like, there is part of me, like, I want to be behind the camera. You know, like I want to, like in my head, I can see exactly how I want to move, exactly how I want to do something and I can't because I'm in front of the camera. So there's been sort of like a coming to Jesus for me where I'm just like, stop it. Just let things be stationary. and I actually think it's in the end a good thing, because my channel it's not about production. My channel's just about the cocktails and having fun. So, but I definitely have a little bit of a cognitive disconnect there. So I'm like,
no, it's true. I mean, for me, I knew I didn't have the equipment or anything like that to make anything like that come true. I knew I didn't have it. So it was the same thing. It's coming to Jesus moment, and talking to some of my friends, they're like, dude, like just let your personality shine through.
Totally.
No one's gonna give a fuck what kind of camera you're using or whether or not you have great
and
editing.
Nobody can tell either.
No one can tell, for one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they're also just not gonna care when they're watching you. They're not going to see your mistakes. They're not going to see your hiccups. There's stuff that doesn't register to 99% of the people. And when it's like putting on an event. When I put on an event for 1,000 people,
all of the things that.
I can sit there and tell you 55 things that went wrong, and I tell my staff, listen, this blah blah blah. You ask the guest what happened. You ask the client what happened, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, it was absolutely amazing. Thank you. It was the best event I ever had."
And at the end of the day, that's important. But I think that your drive for it to be perfect and to be aware of those mistakes,
what makes you successful.
It is. It's important to have those things. Like it's like if you look at a couple of my early videos, my focus is off like just a hair. Nobody in the world is ever going to notice that, but I am mortified by that. Like that drives me bonkers. But at the end of the day, many people too, like it, and this has been through my whole career. Like people always are like, what kind of camera should I get? What kind of, like this, that, it doesn't matter. As long as you have a high enough quality that you're getting a clear image and you as a user are comfortable with the settings and how to do it, doesn't matter. Like just, like.
I agree. Get yourself a good camera, a good phone if you have one, with all these phones these days. I mean, I use a phone from obviously it's my webcam, but I use a phone for mine. Would I love to use a DSLR or something like that? A mirrorless camera? Of course I would. But at the same time, I know what I'm doing that's not really necessary. I think if you're doing something like maybe like what Carl's doing or Kevin Koss or guys like that who are doing a bigger production, or they're using some sort of filters and stuff on, like maybe you want that, but
100%. But it's a whole different it's a different skill set, and it's like a different, you're producing something that is not purely for the aesthetic. They're making great cocktails also, but part of their brand is that aesthetic. And
it's also reaching out to a very different subscriber base. I mean, like, I don't there's not going to be too much crossover with some channels because they're so different. The cocktail enthusiasts will probably subscribe, like someone like Tim or Trevor Rose. They're going to subscribe to anything that they like. Especially because they might like the person, but there are going to be people that just like maybe like certain mixologists who just want to go to like the fancier cocktail guys, and then people who are just drink fans who just want to make cocktails at home, and they go to maybe someone like myself because it's simple and easy, so you're going to attract different people, and that going into it. So and lean into it. You have to lean into 100%. It. I'm not going to sit here and ever say to myself, why am I not getting Kevin's guys? Why am I not getting Truffles on the Rocks guys? That's not what I produce. It's not. And I disappoint them if they try to come and look for that kind of stuff on my channel.
Well, and think about too, like so one of the questions you asked me was, what's my favorite non-cocktail YouTube channel? What's your favorite non-cocktail YouTube channel?
Non-cocktail? I mean, oh, jeez. Outside of like, because I watch a lot of like history stuff, like Weird History is one of the ones I love. But honestly, it's called Ross Kitchen. You ever hear of Ross Kitchen? It's a guy who goes out of Jamaica. It's this white kid from Toronto, and he stays with this Rastafarian in Jamaica. And just kind of like records and documents like his life in Jamaica and stuff like that, and it fascinates me, because I'm a big I love tropics, I love islands, I love that kind of stuff. Kind of seeing the kind of rustic lifestyle that he lives, and I'm really big into reggae music. It's like one of my top 3 genres. So I just admire his film style too. He has really beautiful imagery and stuff like that. So I would say that's my favorite one, but it's hard to pick. It's hard to pick.
See, I think so. Channels like that, like for me, I mentioned Twins the New Trend, which is these two literal twins, they're brothers, who react to music. Have you ever seen their?
I love those kids.
Stuff?
Those are the two black kids?
Yeah.
Oh, they're fantastic, those kids.
Yeah, they hit it big when they reacted to In the Air Tonight and Jolene. Right.
Well, Sinatra was the one that they started with. They did, I think, The Way You Look Tonight. I can't remember. They did Sinatra, and then from there.
Yeah, they're amazing, right? So think about them when they appeal to such a broad audience that, like, you know, they're just like they're passionate. They're doing their thing. They're passionate about it. Mm-hmm. Like, it's one of those things, like, because I think about that too with my channel. I'm like, oh God, who do I appeal to?
Who do I appeal to?
Right. Because is it bartenders and mixologists? Maybe not, mm-hmm. you know, because I'm not doing things the way they mm-hmm. would. So who is it then? You know, like, it's one of those things where, like, at the end of the day, because I'm not giving I'm giving instructions, but it's not like I'm giving a set of instructions that they could find anywhere else. I think it comes down to, like, I'm doing something I'm passionate about and having fun. I think same thing for you, because, like, your personality comes through that way too. Like, you're having a blast when you're doing this, you know? Mm-hmm. So I think you have that broad appeal. But
you know, you said something really interesting, and it's just something I've thought about a lot. I think a lot of us go into it saying, okay, this is what my shtick is. This is my package, right? This is what I'm gonna, like. If someone says, "So, what's your package? Like, what do you do? What makes you different from the rest?" I feel like we prepare ourselves for that, like, right? We start to train ourselves to be able to answer that question. But something we don't usually ask is, who do we appeal to? Who mm-hmm. are we trying to attract?
Who's your audience? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and that's an interesting question. The one that I tend to struggle with myself. Like, I don't know if I can tell you who that is. I feel like you. I don't know if it's mixologists. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not doing anything really fancy or sophisticated. Mm-hmm. Is it someone that's just looking for someone to kind of have a drink with? I've heard that a lot. Like, oh, you know, Vino seems like someone I would have a drink with. Yeah. And that's great to hear, because, you know, that's a lot of people. That could be anybody. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't narrow it down.
For you in particular, like, you do have this, I think part of your persona on YouTube, and probably off too, is this, that you love these classic old cocktails. Mm-hmm. You love that, like, mid-century vibe, mm-hmm. you know, with the Sinatra and you know, Dean Martin, like, these guys, this Rat Pack, you know, and, like, I think you're making cocktails, but it's almost like reminiscent of, like, it's like, yeah, that's a guy I want to sit and have a drink with, and I want to do it in, you know, 1953. You know,
like, I think you're right. I think that's where the have a drink, like, I want to have a drink with Vino comes from. Like, he feels like this kind of mm-hmm. old school guy you could just hang out with, like, be mm-hmm. like hanging out with someone from the Rat Pack. You know, I mean, and I'm off camera. That's who I am. I mean, I'm like that. You know, it's just kind of, you know, I definitely don't put on this kind of old school persona for the cameras.
Oh yeah. Like, I know this is something that Carl and I had a conversation about this once. I think we talked about it in the group recently too. I feel like who you are in life mm-hmm. definitely comes through on the camera. Mm-hmm. You know, like, me having my little food-gasms every time, mm-hmm. that's me. Like,
because you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that on purpose.
No, I couldn't if I tried.
You would never think to myself, let me look like I'm about to pass out on camera. That's a great idea. You know, no way.
Is not possible.
But you know, but at the same time, but I had this conversation with David from Boobs on the Rocks in our interview, and I was like, there are some people that are acting though, and not but in a way that works for them. Kevin mm-hmm. Klass is acting,
right? He's
acting, but he needs mm-hmm. to, because that sells the shit out of his show. Mm-hmm. That whole kind mm-hmm. of, I'm Kevin Klass, like, that whole thing. You know, there's no way he carries himself that way. I'm sure he's just a laid back guy who's super chill, super fun, right? But that very kind of, like, aristocratic kind of shtick that he mm-hmm. does, it works so good on that show.
Yeah,
because of the presentation and because of the music, and, you know, they really,
he's created a world there.
He sells that really well. So there are guys who I think are selling it a little bit, mm-hmm. but in general, I think most of us are kind of just being ourselves. What is the future for Savidge Kitchen? What do you see for your brand, for your channel? Is this something you want to do? Is this something you really want to do long term? What's the deal?
For sure. I think that, you know, when I started this, it was definitely a quarantine project mm-hmm. that, especially at the time too, you know, we got into lockdown, and I was very uncertain about what was going to happen with my business. And I was like, well, you know, like, let me fill my time. Because at first I was thinking this could be a production piece for me, you know, because I'm keeping my cameras out, I'm keeping production rolling, I'm busy. And then my business actually stayed very busy. So
good for
I'm
you.
not mad
good
at that.
Good for you.
I'm very, because in the beginning it didn't. I did lose a few people in the beginning, but then it came back strong, and I'm grateful for that. But also, I've spent the past 6-7 months now developing this channel, and I want to keep it going. It's definitely something I'm enjoying, the creative outlet so much. So I don't know. When I think about like a year from now, I would love to be past that 1,000 subscriber mark.
Everybody wants to meet that threshold by the end of the year.
Yeah,
Hopefully by the end of the year, I think a lot of us will. I think a lot of us will. We're trending right. We're trending right direction. And this is a slow time of year too for YouTube in general. If you look at it statistically, it's not a great time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we'll kind of springish, things will spring back up. You know.
My goal is for the spring, I'm working on getting a website together, because that's one of the things that I'm enjoying this so much, but in some ways for me, YouTube is limiting, because I want, like, the visual artist in me wants like a beautiful place for everything to live, and YouTube is not that. So I'm working on a website, which is frustrating and challenging, and it's something that I do for clients often, but I farm it out to people. So that's what I'm trying to do myself, and it's making me a little crazy. So
I think probably because, I mean, like myself, like I make cocktails great, but there's a larger skill set in terms of like consultations and stuff like that I'd like to add. And that's like something you don't want to push through your cocktail, like through your YouTube channel. It's just, I don't want to like annoy my viewers and stuff. So I'm the same way. I'm thinking website now, and like starting to write down like what I want to do, how I want to sell it.
Yeah, you need like a home base for all of your content.
And I think someone like yourself, I could see merch. I know I want to do some merch. I think the Savidge Kitchen thing just sounds really cool. I could see.
Last name, Dad.
No, it is. So I could see that being something, even if it's just a couple items and stuff like that. That obviously through YouTube is a little difficult to push that, but through your website, you could definitely promote it a little harder.
I love the idea. I don't know what kind of merch I would do, but I love the idea of merch.
Yeah, it sounds too good not to have it.
Right?
I mean, even if it's as simple as like nice aprons and stuff like that. I mean, obviously you'd have to think. Yeah, exactly. You'd have to think about it, but I think it's a good enough of a title to a name to sell and stuff. So obviously you want to continue to go with this, do the website. Do you think like maybe and we're talking some merch and stuff like that? I think your photography has to lend itself to publishing at some point too, right? Using this niche.
It's interesting because I get published regularly in my real life. That's, in fact, just yesterday, another magazine hit newsstands. I've got a 6-page spread in there, which that's exciting, but it's funny because I'm very good at that in the other part of my life. I have no idea how that works in the cocktail world. I haven't even thought about diving into it. I don't know the ultimate dream someday, like the retirement dream someday, this has kind of always been a dream, is I would love to have a bed and breakfast where I cook for people.
Jessica, I want one so bad. No, I do. I want one so bad. I want one so bad, but I want to do it with my whole aesthetic. Something that feels like kind of mid-century and has that whole look and vibe. And I was so with you there. With you there. With a great little bar where people could come.
People can gather and tell stories. Because that's the thing that I always loved about bars. In fact, he's a good friend now. But we met because he was a bartender, and the bar where I used to just go and have a glass of wine and a cheeseburger more nights of the week than not.
Sounds pretty good to me. I'd say that. Yeah.
And I would just sit down and be like, Nate, tell me a story. I need stories, man. Tell me a story. And that. And we actually developed a great, he lived in my guest house for years, a great solid friendship. And so I would love to someday, not that I want to get into the restaurant business. I know how incredibly demanding and hard that is, but I love the idea of just having a little something that I can cook for people, make drinks for people.
Restaurant business is that's not the same as a bed and breakfast. So it's not,
right. That's beyond me. Yeah.
I would definitely love that. I do love the idea of being able to host people, have a sleepover, come stay for the night if you're in town for whatever, to have a drink and some yummy apps and tell a story. I can tell the story. That's one thing I miss the most, is being able to sit with my clients and talk. I mean, I miss I've led a pretty interesting life, so not being able to tell stories to people and share stories over a drink. That's why I always use the line, come for the cocktail, stay for the company, right? Because it's important that you can follow through with that great cocktail with a great conversation. Because a great cocktail is just a great cocktail.
That's what I want to see on your channel, Vino. Why don't you start having a cocktail with us and tell us a story?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that. You know what it is? I do so much of what I do is just improv. So I'd have to start thinking about, okay, what story am I going to tell? But my stories come from that kind of organic conversation, right? So like, it's hard for me to trigger a memory, trigger a great story, like
without the back and forth.
Yeah. I think what I want to start doing is like some live stuff.
Yeah,
and I think that will definitely help me because there won't be this kind of line of questioning. We'll just kind of talk. And then that stuff will start to come out. You know what I'm saying? And
I would tune in for that. I think that's great.
And these are important also for me to like talk more about the guest anyway too. Like, I don't want to be too much about me. So like when I do that, though, it'll be different because then it's just going to be us going back and forth.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing this Drinking Buddies thing soon with Rob, and me and Rob are going to be doing something called Drinking Buddies. Did we tell you about this? We're doing something called Drinking Buddies. It's going to be kind of like the live stream we did the other day. But we're going to invite 2 to 3 guests on to just come talk and have drinks.
That's awesome.
It'll be a live stream, so we're going to get the people to chat and stuff. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
I got that. I think then stories are going to come out. I think everybody's got a great story to tell. Everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love it.
And you've been doing photography and all that stuff for so long, and I'm sure you've done a lot of events and stuff. So I'm sure you've been through, through some really cool events and stuff and stories you could tell. I mean, so many great people I've met.
The stories that come from, your whole life, right? Like it's all about living a great story. Like there's just a lot there.
Yeah. Well, Jessica, listen, thank you so much. I know we've had some technical difficulties, but we pulled through. That's what we do. Yeah. We troop it out. But it's been great having you on. Can you just tell people where they can find you, by the way, besides YouTube?
Yes. On YouTube, it's Savidge Kitchen. You can also find Savidge Kitchen on Instagram. My photography, it's Savidge Photography. It helps that my last name is just sort of in everything so easy. That I do.
But it's not but you have to remember, it's not the traditional Savidge. You gotta remember.
That's right. It's Savidge.
Yes.
Spell it like a weirdo. And my business, you can find Savidge Photography online, or Savidge Co, which is actually Savidge Photography is just sort of my portfolio site. Savidge Co is my business where I do documentary production, branding, all kinds of stuff. So thank you so much for having me on. This was great. I'm seriously loving this community. I feel like you and Rob and Dave starting the challenges and now you doing this podcast is really incredible. It's amazing.
Thank you. I think it's awesome. I mean, listen, I'm lucky to have such great people in the community that makes this stuff interesting. You know what I mean? I can only do so much to make it interesting. I think I've interviewed some really interesting people, and obviously you're one of them. And I look forward to doing more. Jessica, you'll be back on. This is not the end of PubCrawl for you.
Awesome.
I'm going to have people back on and kind of follow up on their progress and hopefully have some great new stories to tell. Like I said, we'll all be there. We're all going to get there. We're all super talented and driven. And, one thing these Discords show is that we are really serious about this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I think we all want to see that success, and we'll get there at some point. We're already successful in our own way.
Just keep doing
that kind of level that we're reaching, that bar that we're reaching, we'll get there and stuff. All right. So guys, make sure that you visit Jessica Savidge at Savidge Kitchen on YouTube. Check out her Instagram and her websites, her photography stuff. The girl is incredibly talented, super fun, super sweet, really funny. And you got to watch her taste stuff. It makes it all worth it. Even if you don't like her content, just watch her eat stuff.
Thanks, Vino.
All right, Jessica, take care. Thank you so much for being on the show.